Hi, this is Bishop Craig in Lansing, and this is take one for the week of May 12th. Peace be with you. Actually, it is May 10th, Friday evening, the night before the Synod Assembly. I'm recording tonight because I have a very busy week coming, as it turns out. So on the night before Synod Assembly, before we know how Synod Assembly goes, I want to thank three people in particular, or three groups of people. First, I want to thank Director of Communications Chelsea, who manages all the moving parts, and people like Rich Weingartner, who's doing the tech, and Pastor Travis Wilson, who's doing the slides, and University in East Lansing, who's hosting us, and Pastor Chrissy Bright, who's doing the elections, and all of that. So the people that actually are working the assembly, thank you, thank you, thank you. You will, of course, hear directly or in some way a word of thanks when we are done. But the two other groups I want to thank are voting members who have taken seriously our requests to prepare by reading the assembly book and by coming to the budget and tech sessions so that you are prepared for the assembly. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I want to thank people who have done an overall good job of honoring deadlines. Thank you for that. A pastor recently said to me, Jesus calls us to love our neighbor. And one of the ways we love our neighbor is by honoring deadlines so that we don't make things harder for our neighbor. And I think that's right. So it's like maintaining boundaries. We do that to love and protect our neighbor. So thank you all who have honored the deadlines. And finally, the third group is people who have reached out, especially in the last 2 weeks when things are a little crazy, in text and emails and calls and Facebook posts or whatever, to express appreciation for the staff. I am very grateful for that. So, assembly. We will release some assembly videos this coming week, the week of the 12th. 12 of them are congregational videos. We'll show 4 at the assembly, and we will release those. These are congregations that have submitted videos to show how they are salt of the earth, light of the world, and leaven of the kingdom. So 12 makes one a month for the next year if you chose to do that. And I think it'd be fun to show one congregational video in your congregation a month. And if you do it, make that ministry a noisy offering for 1 month. So those videos will be there. Other videos of note are the pre-assembly show that will take an hour, but it is totally worth seeing. The highlights of the pre-assembly show that I would point out are the trivia, the cooking segment, and the Synod Pets. So I'd invite you to watch those. And then, of course, there are reports. My report, the Vice President's report, the Treasurer's report for the member of the ELCA Church Council, and those might be fun to watch. So take advantage of the videos. They'll come out this week, and share them. So that Synod Assembly will be on Saturday. On Sunday, the 12th, Pastor Sprang, as I have said, is preaching at Mamerland in Kent City. I will be heading north, and I will find my way to Rogers City eventually, where on Monday morning at 11, I will preach at the funeral for Pastor Charlie Schultz. I'm grateful to Pastor Gary Bungie, who is a 40-year friend of Charlie, who will be officiating at the service. And then on Tuesday, I will go over to Trinity in Battle Creek, where we will have a service with the Kalamazoo Conference that includes the affirmation of ordination vows, the laying on of hands of pastors and deacons in blessing, and the blessing of oil. There will be a lunch afterwards. It is open to rostered ministers beyond the Kalamazoo Conference. If you have not done so, please let Pastor Sullivan know so that there is enough food. Then on Wednesday, we have staff meeting. And on Thursday, we have the Board of the Living Water Ministries. And I am hopeful that by Wednesday or Thursday I will be up north. That's my plan. Sunday is Pentecost. I was supposed to be at a learning day on Saturday for persons who live with disabilities. How do we minister to them? That learning day on Saturday was going to be at Peace in Gaylord, and I was going to preach on Pentecost at Peace in Gaylord. But we figured out that it's Pentecost and confirmation and graduation and that kind of stuff. So we're going to move it to the fall, and we're looking to the first weekend in October. So I hope I'll be at Peace in Gaylord then. Pastor Bright will be at St. Paul's in Reed City, and she will install Pastor Marcy Miller as their pastor. So we're excited about that. Pastor Sprang will be at Trinity in Kalamazoo and preach there as Pastor Jake Lehman is on sabbatical. So Sunday is Pentecost. So we get to consider the Holy Spirit. And so I am struck by a couple of things here. First, the Spirit comes to the apostles as wind and fire. The Spirit does not come as a bubble bath and a cup of chamomile tea. Wind and fire, powerful, threatening, as we know. So the idea that the Holy Spirit is our teddy bear is just not true. Read the book of Acts, and you'll see that the Holy Spirit often blows people where they don't want to go. I mean, do we think that the disciples were really ready to leave that building and go out and engage in public ministry? I don't think so, but out they went. And what they did is they preached about Jesus. Peter preached about Jesus. Didn't talk about himself, didn't talk about his faith journey, didn't talk about the Holy Spirit. Preached about Jesus. So what the Holy Spirit does is powerfully empower us to proclaim Jesus. In the gospel reading, Jesus says that the Spirit testifies to him and that we are to testify to him. And so the Spirit helps us to testify by doing two things. First, Jesus says, I still have many things to say, but you cannot bear them now. The good news is Jesus is still speaking, and the Spirit brings those things to us. The Spirit helps us to hear Jesus amidst all the noise. And the Spirit exposes when we testify to something else or when we fall away. You know, we get our own level of self-judgment, I think, and the Spirit exposes the faultiness of those things. So Jesus calls the Holy Spirit the advocate, and we need to be clear that the Spirit doesn't advocate for me. The Spirit, it does not advocate for you. The Spirit does not advocate for the church. The Holy Spirit advocates for Jesus, bringing to mind what Jesus says, exposing things that get in the way of testifying to Jesus, empowering us to testify to Jesus. So a sermon on Pentecost, as tempting as it is not to be about the Holy Spirit. A sermon on Pentecost should be how the Spirit empowers us to proclaim Jesus. A patristic understanding of the Trinity would say that God is the thought, the Father, Jesus is the Word, as in the Word made flesh, and the Spirit is the breath. So without the breath, the Word gets locked in our throat. But without the Word, the breath has nothing to say. So the Word is Jesus. The breath by which we proclaim Jesus powerfully is the Spirit. So these days we want to talk about the Holy Spirit, my discernment and what am I called to do, and what is our church called to be. And friends, it ain't no Scooby-Doo mystery. We're called to testify to bear witness to proclaim Jesus. And the discernment is, how is the best way for me, for you, for us, for our congregations, for the synod, for our church to do that? So if I was preaching Pentecost, the good news is Jesus is still speaking, bringing things to mind to empower us to testify to him to a world that really, really, really needs him. So a busy week that's going to have me on the road just like pre-COVID times, and hopefully will find me ending the week sitting at the end of my dock. So I'm Bishop Craig. This is Take One, and the peace of Christ be with you always. Take care.